Hi students, I want to show you how to move the scissors for the Lanekas. So what you want to do, you want to go to the scissors layer, and I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And I have mine starting around 2 seconds, 15 frames. Right there, I actually have a frame that has 0 opacity. And then at 3 seconds, I have another keyframe that is at 100% opacity. Because what I wanted to do, I wanted to appear, I don't want it to pop in, I want it to dissolve in. Okay, so now what I need to do, when you're looking at your options here, you want to go ahead and click. If you're doing a keyframe for the first time, remember, it's what I call the stopwatch. It just reminds me of a stopwatch. So you want to click on that the first time. Remember that if you click on this after you have multiple keyframes, it's going to delete your keyframes from your layer. So what you want to do, if your second free keyframe, you have to actually click on the keyframe option. So, okay, so I'm going to have it at 3 seconds. I move this over. I'm going to put it in place. So you need a position keyframe because that's where you want it to start. If you don't have a position keyframe, it's just the scissors are just going to keep moving forward. So let's say that at 3 seconds and 15 frames, I wanted to go from here to this corner right here. So what I'm gonna do, I put my time indicator in the place that I wanted to go, and then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hold my shift key on my keyboard and then use my arrow keys so I can jump extra pixels, and I'm gonna move this over. And the other reason I'm holding down my shift key is because I want it to be straight. So now I'm going to show you what it's going to do. That's exactly what we want. Now, we need it to go ahead and turn from here to here. So what I'm going to do, since I went to 3:15, I'm going to go to 3:30. Since I'm going, which is actually 4 seconds. And I'm going to do 2 things. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add another, I'm going to move, hold my shift key, and do the arrow down. All the way down. But if you notice, if I take this back to the beginning and click on my space bar, it's going to play. But if you notice, I need to turn the scissors as well. So I'm going to go back to, because I want it to move. When it gets here, I want it to turn, then move facing down. So right here under rotation, I'm going to add another keyframe. And then I'm going to double click on that, and I'm going to say 90, so it's facing down. But look what happens at the beginning. Now the whole thing's turn. So I'm going to go ahead and put a keyframe right before this. And remember, this bar is used for zooming in. I'm going to put a keyframe right before that. So I'm adding a keyframe. And this one, I'm going to double click and make sure that it's actually 0 degrees. So then watch what's going to happen now. There we go. Okay. So far, so good. So now we have at 4 seconds, and then we go 4:15. I'm going to put another keyframe on position, because this one is going to go from here, to the end of it. So I'm going to hold my shift key and move it all the way across. So now here's what we have. So it gets to the end, it turns, but then we need another rotation keyframe. So right here, this is where I want it to turn. So I'm going to, and you can start seeing a pattern over here. I'm going to click on rotation. $45. No, it's going to be $180. Okay. So I'm going to select 180, but then look what happens here. Now it's turning. The scissors are turning when it's moving down. So now I'm going to go back over here, right one keyframe before the keyframe that we just added on rotation. I'm going to add a keyframe, and I am going to make sure is that 90 degrees. So it stays facing down. So now watch this. So we click on the space bar, we move, there we go. So far so good. Okay, now we need a keyframe. So we are at 4 seconds, 15 frames, and I'm gonna go to 5 seconds. And I'm gonna add another position keyframe, and I need these to face up. So I'm gonna hold my shift key. Right there. But then I also need to say, okay, I need the scissors to rotate. So I need them to rotate in the keyframe before. So when it gets to the corner, it rotates. Okay. So here I'm going to add another rotation keyframe. I think it's minus 90. Yes. And select OK. So I'm going to click on the space bar for you to be able to see what I'm doing here. Oh, we have a lot going on. Okay, so what do we have here? So this is, so now it's rotating in circles because this last keyframe, if you double click on that, it's at 180. This one is at 90, so I need to go right here, right beforehand, add another keyframe in rotation, and that is going to be the exact same degrees as the previous keyframe, so 180, and select OK. So now watch this. Make sure all your spaces is consistent. Okay, there we go. Okay, so far so good. But now at 5 seconds, 15 frames, we need to bring it home and put it back where we started. So we're adding another position keyframe. And you see this dot right here? That's exactly where I'm going to match it. So I'm going to go here and bring it home. Now, I need to go back to the previous keyframe because I need to rotate it. One more time. And that first rotation was 0 degrees. So I wanted it to end at 0. Okay, so now I need to add a keyframe beforehand. This exact keyframe, that minus 90. So now let's go ahead and play this. Click the space bar. So it shows up, it moves nicely. And that's it. Okay, so you have that. Okay, so make sure, think about it in After Effects. Remember that you have to tell it exactly what you want it wanted to do. You wanted to turn and stop and turn left. Then you need a keyframe for stopping. Then you wanted to take another one for turning left. Then you wanted to turn the other direction. That's another keyframe. And then you wanted to go home. So it's literally step by step. It's putting one foot in front of the other. That's how you're thinking about when it comes to After Effects. And now when you're animating, think about it. Okay, well, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do with my like you can tell the lines are fading in right now. Open up that layer so you can see there's you can adjust these if you want them to fade in. Let's say that you wanted to go ahead and let's see what the Laneka is doing. If you wanted to fade in, you can change this around. Let's say that you wanted the Laneka to come in. I'm gonna move this over just a hair. You know, let's say that you wanted the Laneka to, after it gets there, let's say you want it to get big. So I'm just gonna guesstimate just a few frames here. And I'm gonna go and add a keyframe on scaling. Whoops, I have all this selected. Okay, 1 on scaling. I'm gonna put 1 before that because I wanted to stay this size. But then what I wanted to do, I wanted to get large really fast. So I'm gonna go, let's say like 500%. Okay, and then what I wanted to do, I wanted to go ahead and maybe a few keyframes on there. I wanted to land back to its original size. And then take the time indicator back to the beginning, click on the space bar, boom. The closer the keyframes are together, the faster this is gonna move. Let's say you wanted to go in here and you know, like make it even bigger as an example. Let's say that you click on this, the 500, and you actually go to 1000%. So that's a lot larger. Watch this. Remember that use your grid guide, your title save, so you can see where you are. Remember, this is the size of your file. Anything outside of this is almost like a bleed. Anything outside of this, your text is not going to be able to be shown.